My name is Lauren Golden. I'm the founder of The Free Mama. I'm going to get dressed. Well, I'm dressed. I've got clothes on. I'm going to get dressed for a coaching call today that I have. I'm a business coach. This is not a makeup tutorial. As you can see, we don't know what we're doing when it comes to makeup. That's not what I'm here to teach you. What I am going to talk to you about, however, is how starting a successful virtual assistant business back in 2014, 15, mostly doing social media management, how that decision while working full time, while around the time I started, I had a 2-year-old and a newborn and a husband who was gone all the time with work, and how that one decision changed the trajectory of my life and helped me reach financial success. And it wasn't through the VA stuff alone, but I'm going to break down the story of how I went from working full time, feeling like a failure everywhere, to true financial freedom. So stick around. So in case you're curious, this is a CC cream and this is as sophisticated as we get. I don't know how to contour. I don't like wearing a lot of makeup. So not related to being a VA, but just thought I'd throw that out there in case you're like, what are you putting on your face? It's CC cream, and it makes me feel like I have a little bit of coverage. What's really cool about this journey is that I am not the same. I talk differently about money. I'm not afraid to do things that I used to be afraid to do. And honestly, like my whole life looks really different because of this one decision. And I think a lot of people underestimate how starting a business really can change the trajectory of your life. Or we are so focused on like, oh my gosh, I want financial freedom, or oh my gosh, I want to pay off my debt. And if you're like me, when I first started, like that's a big jump, and you can make this big jump, but you're going to do it through small incremental steps. So for me, I was working a traditional job, like I said, and I was making probably like, around the time I left, it was probably like maybe $40,000 a year. And that was after a couple of raises over the course of a 3-year period. I also got several promotions during that time frame, because I was always willing to solve problems. And the reason I tell you that is because that one thing alone will make you more successful as a virtual assistant or any type of freelancer than anything else, okay? You have to be willing to solve problems, and you have to have a willingness to figure it out. And I had that. I had no clue how to be a virtual assistant. I didn't know what freelancing was or how it applied to me, but I had those things. This is chopstick. I know. We're very fancy. Okay, so job, right? How many of you have a job? Let me know down in the comments below if you have a job. I had a job. It was 2014, had a job, had just had my second kid. I had a salary. They paid me around, maybe it was closer to 50,000 by the time I left. I think I started at like 35. Like I said, I got several promotions in the 3 years that I worked there, but I also took on a lot more responsibility. And, with a typical job, you have a salary, or maybe you're an hourly employee. Typically, you have some sort of annual review. Maybe you have it more often. Maybe you have a position where you're allowed to have commissions or things like that. But for the most part, like you have very little control over your salary. You have an annual review. Your job decides whether or not you're able to get a raise, and that is it. And so you get your job, and then you go to your job, and then eventually you retire, and then you die. And there's like a set amount of money that you're allowed to make. It's kind of horrible. And I've been there and I did that. And because I was stuck in that system, I not only was broke, and I will define broke as white privilege broke in terms of we had a little bit of credit card debt. We did have car loans. We had a mortgage. And we were very much living paycheck to paycheck. Like we were contributing to our 401ks through our paychecks, but that was about it. And we weren't saving. We had like no money. Like if one of us lost a job, like we had nothing. Like we had nothing. And I look back and I try not to judge that version of myself, because she was doing the best she could. But more than just being broke with what we had in terms of our salaries, like our biggest problem is that I had a broke mindset. I had a broke mentality, to the point that the word broke was a part of my regular vocabulary. Okay. That's a problem. If you're watching this and that is also you, that is a problem. The reason why is because if you are constantly telling yourself you're broke, you're going to make decisions like you're broke, and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And that was my life all through the majority of my 20s. I was in my late 20s when I started freelancing. So like this broke mentality, maybe you have read the book or heard of the book Cashflow Quadrant. If you haven't, you should. But anyway, if we could like draw a line here and here, like a little chart, and put like an E and an S and a B and an I. So it's employee, self-employed, business owner, investor. And I was like, in the E. And that is like the fastest way to stay broke too. And I knew that. Not only did I logically understand that the fastest path to more cash and thus more savings and thus more freedom in my life was to not work for someone else, it was also killing me as a mom because I felt like I was failing all the time. So I'm broke and I'm a failure. And that's not really a great way to feel about yourself and accomplish much of anything. So in 2014-15, I saw this webinar that was like, hey, oh my gosh, social media management, like freelancing. And I was like, I think I can do that. I think I can do that. And so I started doing it and I did it. And it was easy and hard at the same time. It was easy because learning new skills isn't that hard. Talking to people isn't that hard unless you make it hard. Because again, this is really mental. And I will say I had the downside of a broke mindset. I had the upside of being an extrovert. With that being said, if you're an introvert, like, again, that's more about energy than it is about talking to people. I maybe just have more practice running my mouth than you do. But those parts, like that was actually easy. The hard part of starting freelancing was starting to think like a business owner or like someone who's self-employed and moving down the quadrant from the E to the S of like, okay, now I gave myself a job, which is what self-employment really is. Like you are giving yourself a job versus a business owner where like you're giving other people a job to work within the business, right? So I started freelancing and it was this huge mindset shift for me. And I've recorded a couple podcast episodes about this on Free Mama Radio too, about going from like an employee to like a CEO or business owner mindset. And it's different, right? As an employee, someone's always telling you what to do and someone's holding you accountable and someone's doing all like, you know, making sure you follow through and there's like built-in accountability. When you're self-employed, like you got to go get it. So we already talked about being a problem solver and being someone who is resourceful, but you also have to be someone who's a self-starter. You have to be self-motivated to go after it. And I had those things. And if you're watching this, I hope that you have those things too, because it's going to be like the deal breaker. My very first client, by the way, was my boss's husband. That's right. My boss's husband. So still at a job. And I told people, and this is something I see hold a lot of freelancers back, especially in the free mama community, like you're afraid to tell people, but it's like, why would you not tell people? Because one of the things I say all the time is if nobody knows what you're doing, how can they connect you with the people you're meant to serve? So freelancing went from this like scary, hard thing mentally, where I had to like overcome my fears about like this stable job that I had that I knew was going to keep me broke for forever, where they gave me, you know, insurance and 401k and all this stuff that I was like, how do we do this on my own? But when I started thinking like a CEO, again, I became more and more resourceful. Like I'm not the first person to be self-employed. I'm not the first person to have to go find clients. I'm not the first person to go figure any of this stuff out. So why would I not shorten my learning curve by going to learn from people who have already done it? And what was awesome is as I did more and more new things, because all of this was new to me, just like it is for every other business owner when they start, the more new things I did, that equaled more money, even though, like, again, we had a long way to go from broke mindset. Like I severely undercharged, I severely underpriced myself, but because I was doing it, I was doing the action, I was learning what it felt like to undercharge, that you start to get that resentment of like, oh God, I'd rather kind of not do this. Or like, oh, I should have charged more. These are good things. It means you will never do it again. So I learned these lessons. And as I'm doing this, I'm like building my mindset. I'm building my money mindset. I'm building my confidence. I'm feeling more empowered. And then all of a sudden, I'm like almost making the same amount in my freelancing business as I was at my job. And I'm like, what? Now, here's the kicker. Still terrified to leave the job, right? That like stable, secure story that we have about it, like that was terrifying to me. And I don't know that I would have actually done it. And I won't go into all the details of my story, but we'll just say that like something sad happened in my life, but it ended up being kind of a blessing in disguise, because that low point was the thing that made me like, enough is enough. Like it is time to move to the next step in the cash flow quadrant, because we don't choose this anymore. We don't choose working for someone else. We don't choose this broke mentality. Like I definitively knew I wanted out of it, and I felt ready on a cellular level to do the work to get there. And I knew that it was going to take time. You guys, this is not a light switch. It wasn't like that. It wasn't a light switch at all. This happened over the course of like months, if not years, where finally I'm like, wow, I'm like not even the same person anymore. This is amazing. So again, all this experience, all these mistakes of not charging enough and maybe not being super clear on, was I doing social media? Did I want to help more with like the client care stuff or like the tech stuff behind the scenes? Like I've experienced doing so many different things, but each of those things prepared me for what was coming, but I just couldn't see it yet. So I was like getting my reps in of like, oh yeah, I made a mistake with that client, but got one. Oh, learned how to use this new software. Now I understand ClickFunnels. Like, oh, that took me a really long time to figure out, but next time it'll be really easy. So that money will be great. And I'm like learning along the way and I'm learning through doing. And again, I've coached a lot of free mamas. And so what I've learned working with freelancers and this idea of going from like, you're starting this business to like reaching financial success is it requires you to change the way that you think, to change the way that you feel about money, to change the way that you attract money, to change the way that you spend money. Like it's gonna require this shift and we've got to be willing to get our reps in order to grow. And that's what I was doing over those years of, and I still do, quite frankly, I still got to get my reps in, because if we don't, like everything we worked for goes away. Right. So anyway, I was freelancing. All these beliefs had changed. All of a sudden I found myself in this position where I'm like, wow, the girl who used to always say she was broke. Like, let me tell you how bad it was, by the way. Like friends would call us. We were the first in our group of friends to get married, but also to have kids. And so people would call us to like hang out and we would always say no. And I think people always thought it was because like, oh, they've got kids now, like they're not cool. But like for us, it was actually like, we don't have money to do that. It's really going to stress us out this month with our bills. Like, so we acted broke. We were broke. We felt broke. We thought we were broke, and therefore we made decisions like we were broke. What switched that thinking for me was the first time I invested in myself to learn from someone else, to collapse time and move faster in getting results that I wanted in my business. And through these changing beliefs, what I realized is I don't have a broke mentality anymore. I've actually learned that like money's actually not that hard to make, and it's not. It's not. And if you do think that it is, it's okay, because I used to think that way too. But again, this is my story about going from like not even having a business to that financial success. And I'm telling you, like most of it happens between the ears in terms of your mindset about money. In order to change what's happening between your ears, though, you've got to get your reps in. And all of that happens externally. It happens through your experiences. It happens through talking about your business, figuring out your niche, which again, only comes through experience, not through thinking about it to death. Okay. So this is what we've got to do. Now, as I was growing, what I realized is like my rates, my worth, my value of the work that I produce should not be determined by somebody else, which, remember, going back to our like quadrant, that's exactly what a job is. Someone else is determining that for you. And you just kind of say, yes, please. Thank you so much. May I have some more? But instead, when you're self-employed, you get to determine those things. Remember, you're building yourself a job as a freelancer. And so even there, and when you move to a business owner, you have so much more control over your earning income potential. Not only your earning potential, but the frequency with which you earn it. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, again, you get paid every other week or bi-monthly as an employee. There's a way for you to set up your business when you start a virtual business that you can have recurring revenue. You can have multiple revenue streams. You can diversify it. And that was my experience. So I started freelancing. I did it for about 3 years before I launched what's now called the Free Mama Movement. Come hang out with us. We got a Facebook group, all the things. We would absolutely love to have you there and support you. And at the end of this video, I'll share with you guys a free training where you can learn more about what we do and how you could choose to invest with us to collapse time and speed up your results if financial freedom is something that's actually important to you. I think it is, because you decided to watch this video. So anyway, so I determine these things. You get to determine these things. And the beautiful thing about being self-employed and a business owner is you decide when you give yourself a raise. That does not happen as an employee. Blah. I want to be super clear again that none of this happens overnight, you guys. But when you invest in yourself, when you choose to follow a path, when you choose to push forward, even when you're uncomfortable, even when you're kind of afraid, not even kind of afraid, you're like totally peeing your pants. I tell a story in my community all the time about how I used to get diarrhea. Yes, I just said diarrhea on the internet before I used to do Facebook Lives, because it was so scary to me. It doesn't happen overnight, but within 3 years of me starting freelancing, I went from a broke mindset, paycheck to paycheck and not able to go out to dinner with friends, to paying off all of our debt, buying a new car, paying off our car loans, then buying a new car, bulking up our savings and being able to travel pretty much whenever we want. In fact, we spent the last couple of years in an RV with our family going all over the US. Like all of that happened over the course of about 3 years. I learned how to do that. I made that shift. And my question to you is like, if you could change your mindset and get that type of financial success and financial freedom for you, for your family in 3 years, what would you be willing to do to get it? Right? Oh my goodness gracious. If you want more details about the 5-step process that I use to go from freelancing to work my way. So like what we really talked about is like going from E to S. And that's what I really teach people how to do, right? Is how to start freelancing, how to create a job for yourself. But if you want more information about how to go to S to B, I've got this YouTube video that I just made a few weeks ago that I think you should check out. It's a 5-step process for leveling up your business and starting to remove you from it so that you can be earning money when you're not actually providing the service to somebody. So make sure you check that video out. That was really important to the second half of my journey. So far, we're still going. With that being said, the last thing that I want to share with you guys, this is another mindset shift for you. Okay. I know. We come to YouTube and we're like, please tell me how to do this thing. And we want these like tactical, crunchy videos. I have a lot of those right here on this channel too. So make sure you're subscribed, go back through some of the playlists. But with that being said, the most transformational things that will happen to you, I'm telling you, are going to be when you start to make these mindset shifts. So the last thing I want to point out, maybe like a month or so ago, I posted on Instagram, make sure you're following me, coming out with me, send me a message, let's chat, let's be friends. Okay, what I did was I posted in my stories this thing that was basically like, what are your motivators? Which motivates you? And on the first screen, I think I had freedom and money, and like 90% of people said freedom, which is cool. You're my people. I'm a lifestyle entrepreneur, love money, think it's great, changed our money mindset, but I'm motivated by living the life that I want to live, right? Then on the next screen, I had money versus impact. And almost everybody picked money. And I thought, wow, that is so fascinating. And by the way, like zero judgment. I know that the people who come in the Free Mama community, the people who follow and connect with me are heart motivated people. We have people coming from caring professions like teachers and healthcare workers. And I know these things about you, but I appreciate your honesty about what motivates you. But I want to show you something. And I learned this principle through a book called The Go-Giver, which we read in the Free Mama Squad, which is our coaching community. And what's really interesting is, so if we put freedom, money, impact, what you guys said your motivator is, you're most motivated by freedom, then money, then impact, right? And so it's like, whew, got it? Okay. But here's the concept inside of the Go-Giver. It is that the more impact we make will be directly correlated to the amount of money we can make. Think about like, I don't know, the dude who started Amazon, like kind of has a lot of money. Think about the impact he's making. I mean, I'll get stuff delivered like multiple times a week. So there's that. Okay. So impact, money, and we need money to provide our freedom-based lifestyle. So we're thinking about it backwards, okay? So again, make sure you go check out this video and just think about this concept. And this will be a really key indicator for your financial success as well moving forward. So before we wrap up, again, I'd love to hear from you. What are your financial goals? What is it that you want? What made you click on this video? Why are you interested in becoming a virtual assistant? And what do you want to make out of it? Because again, a lot can change in a little bit of time as long as you're willing to put in the work and make sure that you're actually making progress. Again, we want to like get our reps in, and we do that by not waiting for things to be perfect or right, because you don't even really know what you're dealing with until you're actually dealing with it. Okay. I want to remind you, starting a business, whether you're going from S to B to wherever, it's going to be the biggest personal development course you could ever not sign up for in your entire life. But if you don't want to do it alone, again, make sure you join us in the Free Mama Movement Facebook group. I mentioned earlier that webinar. So if you're on that step one, you haven't even started working as a VA and you want more results faster, I highly, highly recommend following in my footsteps. Go to thefreemamamovement.com. I've got a free 60-minute training. In fact, I think it's actually like 59 minutes. So you're welcome. It's under an hour. I know you're busy. You don't have a lot of time. Not only will it give you 3 massive takeaways to make sure you set up your freelancing business the right way, and I mean it, like the right way. You can waste a lot of time not doing these 3 things that I'm going to lay out for you in this 60-minute training. And at the end, I'm going to tell you how we can work together. So if you want to be a part of our coaching community, or you want a course that's going to walk you through A to Z exactly what you need to do, make sure you check that check out that training. There's no strings attached. You can just go find out the 3 things and you'll get a workbook and all kinds of cool stuff just for signing up, totally free. Last thing, I want to remind you that who you surround yourself with matters. Like, one thing I didn't even really talk about in this video is that not only was it investing in my education and figuring it out and problem solving and getting my reps in, but it was making sure that I was surrounded by like-minded people. And again, that's what you can find inside the Free Mama movement. So make sure you check out the link down below to join our free Facebook group. We'd love to have you in there. And if you need anything, again, connect with me on social media, send me a message. I'd love to help you out. Thanks for viewing. If you liked this behind the scenes rogue, like real talk, like if you have any questions about my makeup routine, just kidding. Anyway, if you like this, make sure you subscribe, share it with people, or take a screenshot and let me know on social media that you got it, that you liked it. I would absolutely love that, because it means that we can help more people make an impact, make more money, and have more freedom in their life, which is what we're all about here at the Free Mama. So I'll see you next time. Bye. We got dogs barking. We got kids talking. We got sun shining through. This is going to be a really good video. Okay. What was I going to say? To get my weights is by getting your reps. Excuse me. What? I don't even know what I was saying though. All right, let's make it look like I've got some eyelashes. Yeah, I don't know what I was saying. We're very excited.